Welcome to Gauteng Live, your premier platform where we speak everything visitor economy, the creative sector, and lifestyle. And I'm joined here in studio by the king. But what makes this special is that just few minutes ago, I was on the opposite side.
Yes.
That's why I insisted he must come here. I go torture. David Mashabela, the king himself. Welcome to Gauteng Live. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. I love the facility. I like what you guys have done. This is unexpected, and this is where all of us should be going.
Absolutely.
Where there's an OB van type setup for podcasts.
Mobility is the key. But this is your space, man. Yes. You have set up one of the best facilities. And earlier on, we were talking about how content is now the king. But I also say distribution is the queen. And now this is the space you are in with your facilities. How important is it for us to actually start documenting, telling and sharing our own stories in a manner in which the current audience understand and appreciate it?
South Africans are an interesting audience. They love to watch.
Yeah.
And that creates a unique opportunity for those that have the time, the energy to put together long form content where you're explaining something, you're telling people something. We have a consumer of media that is very happy to consume such content where it's long form. So I encourage it. I think it's very important for us to take advantage of it because traditional media doesn't give conversations like this enough time.
Absolutely.
Because of how they're designed.
Yeah, they're designed,
They're designed to rush to an ad break and so forth. But as a result, you end up with conversations like this being denied to our audience. And that's why I always say, if you have the opportunity, you have the time, you have the skills, you have the equipment, you should start recording. And equipments are not that expensive. You're talking the very phone that you have.
Absolutely.
You can use it to record long form content and it becomes amazing. I hosted Nate Kaifa Semenya for 6-7 hours. That tells you, and people are watching it, they're enjoying it. It shows you that South Africans are ready and willing to consume such content.
And South Africans actually changes a lot of things, how they were designed, even their names.
Yes.
Podcast, the traditional description is what people listen to.
It's audio.
Audio.
Yes. They call it vodcast when there's a video.
But can you see, we even change these things to something else. Everybody, did you watch podcast there, Mama? Did you watch podcast there, Mashabela?
They don't say, did you listen?
They don't say, did you listen?
And Interesting. I've had conversations with Spotify about this. And they are learning to accept that South Africans have a different interpretation of what a podcast is. And we are settled with it.
But I guess it also speaks to the multimedia platform and multimedia way in which consumers, our audiences, consume information.
Yes.
That time, Mametsi o shebeletse podcast ka mo phone on WhatsApp.
Yes.
And then there is radio station
that's playing.
Youth Endala playing on the other side.
Yes.
And all of this you ask yourself, but how is this person integrating with all of these things?
Yes.
Others are saying that's why people can't deal with hard things because every day they are consumed with these multiple things.
Absolutely.
And ultimately leads to people not taking care of their wellness. And like your take on that?
I'll tell you, we are also a unique audience when it comes to the type of content. That's what you're referring to. We consume more of the light content.
Yes.
But over time, and I say this because I can see it on my channel, where some videos I thought it was too serious and people won't watch it. They consume it over a long period. Exactly. Exactly. They don't consume it. And that's the thing about us as a consumer. So I say bravo to that. The fact that we cook the type of food that you're not going to eat once.
Yeah.
You're going to come back tomorrow and come back months after and come back week after. We have a video that we recorded with working two-pot.
Yes.
We're talking about retirement. Exactly. And people comment on that video every day.
Yes.
It wasn't one of those. And the thing about Nkosi type content, it's dated.
Yeah.
It has a
and
expiry date.
That's
it.
It goes lower down.
Absolutely. So there's room for both worlds, where you know that you're cooking a Mapiano song, they're going to dance to it. In 2 months, they move on to the next song. Or there's an Afro pop song where they'll be listening to it for the next 10 years. And that's exactly how the content is. Our consumers are like that. Even the content is exactly like that.
And also, this aspect of how now this have shaped. It's interesting that you're talking to Spotify, for example,
yes.
and how this now have moved to what I personally call a local well set up.
Yeah.
You know, local content that is pioneered to global audiences. And the move from, I always ask people, so where is this local space? So when the Americans move from Atlanta coming here, are they coming from the local to international?
That is true.
So, or how does this international and local work? So when I leave Sharpeville and go to Philadelphia, I leave local, I go international. But when they do the other way around,
the other way around. So that means that means the terminologies they apply based on your perspective.
Yes.
But there are those whom I agree with who don't see local and international. They see a global space.
Absolutely.
And the world of multimedia, particularly of digital, talks to us and tells us immediately that this is a global space.
100.
Example, one of the people I work with very closely, McG, his content is consumed in other countries just as much as it's consumed in South Africa. I have a video I recorded with David Mashabela.
Yes.
Where we're talking about Black Jesus. That video is watched more in the US than it is watched in South Africa.
Yes.
So you can never say you're local or you're global, or rather you are international. We are all exist in this small world, and the digital space has shrunk this world so much that has become, you can post something today and it's immediately all over the world.
And that's what our music does, our dance challenges does. And then do we say that is a local dance? It's a global dance. And for me, in the type of work I do, those are some of the nuggets that starts shaping how we put our marketing strategies out. Because sometimes,
yes,
because we have characterized ourselves as local and others international. You know, but the advance of multimedia, and to what extent have also COVID contributed to this, where we were in confined spaces, and people started doing videos of their not so good cooking, and then they ended up creating entrepreneurial opportunities for them. All of a sudden, they are content creators.
Yeah. Let me tell you, those conspiracy theories say COVID was created for that very purpose. Because one of the biggest things that came out of COVID is a much wider digital consumption of content, where you see us now, and there are programs that grew because of it. That people who were not in the digital spaces, that they became big digital consumers and also creators because of it. And that's why some say it was created for that purpose. But that's just a conspiracy. I'll tell you, COVID is a gift to a lot of technologies.
Yes.
Look at how now, probably the last time you said a full day at the office is a long time ago. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it has changed that. And that means it has changed the way you live your life.
Absolutely.
It has changed the way you work. It has changed the way you consume content. And that is the most amazing thing. I launched my channel in 2020.
Yeah.
And in that period, it was able to gain over 250 subscribers, 250,000 subscribers.
Yes.
That tells you, if it was launched at any other time, it was probably would have struggled a lot longer to achieve these type of numbers. So COVID was an absolute contributor to this global shift of digital consumption of content by a long shot.
100%. And you can see, for me, how now important and golden is content as currency for now. We were talking earlier on about the advantages that the public broadcaster, for example, if it does move to digital migration, that will bring. And I was like, So if there are repeats with 4 channels, what is going to happen?
When there's over 40 channels.
40 channels. Doesn't that give an opportunity for those that are watching saying, hey, what can I do to start investing in content, to start producing stuff that could easily plug into that platform that was there, including our sports. We started this morning with a walk. But as the news reports about the day, everybody speaks about the laying of the wreath at the burial site.
But there is content that happened before that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Your take on that?
I'll tell you, the biggest challenge you're having right now is an influx of digital spaces.
Yeah.
But when, like you're saying about SABC having over 40 channels, we were able to live with DSTV with over 40 channels.
Yeah.
Now we have another 40 coming. And not only that, we also have the traditional channels that we've always had.
Yes.
Not only that, we still have your YouTubes that are part of this world.
Yeah.
Your
Now
streaming platforms.
now they are mainstream.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that influx has an opportunity and also a disadvantage. One of those big opportunities is that now if you're a content creator, your content can actually be bought by the big players. Like Podcast and Chill is now bought by DSTV. It shows you that those opportunities are coming, and they're coming in much bigger than they've ever been before. And I always say, if you're a content creator, or you're thinking about it, but lazy to do it, has never been a better time to create content. And like all opportunities in life, there was once the gold rush.
Yes.
There was once the golden rush, rather the diamond rush in Kimberley. They will always end.
Absolutely.
And this will end as well at some point. But right now, the door is open for everyone to walk through.
You must just be that American company. Yeah. Just do it. Mm-hmm. Just do it. You know. So as we wrap up, earlier on we even had a chat, and people think content is just about what we are wearing or serious conversations or mgozi and the like. Me and you, we had an interesting conversation about, for example, how sports, our own Kasi teams, you know, there used to be a team here called Val Professionals, you know it. And how, what in South Africa we are having a disconnect. We're actually amongst the very few countries where we don't have localized teams. We all favor 1 or 3, 4 teams.
Giants, better than the Soweto Giants.
Yeah, but where we stay in the UK and others, there's community teams. There's and that enables them to buy what is called season tickets.
Absolutely.
Because you buy as a household, you buy 6-7 of you. And here is even bigger because our nuclear families here are not like the other side where it's 3 or 4. So you will be buying 9 tickets from one household where a team could benefit. I know you are an ardent soccer fan, for example. Don't you think an opportunity exists? For example, Mamelodi Sundowns fans organizing themselves to receive fans from the visiting teams that plays in the Champions League. Friday, Thursday before the match, they show them around Mamelodi. They take them to HM Piche and say this is where the team started playing. And that start creating a culture of not looking at the opposing team's fans as rivals, but as united people behind the beautiful game.
Sports tourism is so key, and I think we've only scratched the surface with regards to really taking advantage of it. I spent a week as part of an academic program I was doing in Brazil. Sports tourism, particularly soccer tourism. In Brazil, I remember we were in Sao Paulo. We went to a soccer museum.
Yes,
I thought it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. Yes, and then we went to where were we again? Copacabana. There's the beach there. Kind of what is the stadium that was the Maracana? We went to Maracana. We probably had about 1,000 people who were there just to see the stadium. Nothing else. And we went to local stadiums as well. They recognize as a community of people in that neighborhood that soccer is currency, and they take advantage of it fully. Exactly the example you just gave now. Al-Akhli coming to visit, and then we take them to the local township so they can experience more than just the game.
Yeah.
They don't go to the game and back to the hotel.
Absolutely.
They come and hang out and come and drink with the people there. There's so much that can be done, and I saw it live with the soccer-loving people of Brazil, that they understand it, they know it, and we are not there yet.
So just outside Torpop, by Midrand there, do you know there's the biggest mosque on Sub-Sahara Africa?
I wasn't aware.
And that mosque, if it's Ramadan time...
Oh, the one next
fence,
to this camp?
Yes.
Yeah, warehouse.
Yeah.
Yes.
If they come through and say it's the period where they need to go for prayer,
yes,
you are able to integrate it into that specific place. Now you are starting to speak to what the consumers actually do in their everyday life without compromising their religions, their beliefs, and the thing. So I went to World ITB. It's in Berlin. It's the biggest tourism travel trade show in the world. And I went to the Argentina stand. Guess what was the biggest thing in their stand? A statue of Leo Messi.
Whoa.
The stand was designed around Leo Messi.
Imagine that.
And it was the stand of the tourism agency of Argentina to sell tourism.
They understand it.
The stand was judged.
Yes.
And I guess that's where we need to be going when we say content is king.
We have both Jomo Sono and Kaiser Mutawu who played in the US.
Yeah.
The history of South African soccer is solid.
I'm still very bitter that till today, nobody sees an opportunity of documenting one of the most iconic moments in the football history of South Africa.
Which is?
When Jomo Sono left his wedding day after said I do
to go play
and go Pirates being 2-0 down, arrived just before halftime, changed and scored 4 goals. And there is no Netflix series on that. And there's a Netflix series on Neymar. With due respect, come on, Days.
Well, we don't take ourselves serious. We can't expect others to take us serious. If we don't see that ourselves. We focused on many other things, man. We're busy getting tender. We're busy fighting for political positions. Hey, we'll get there eventually. But time moves as well.
We need to get there because I was talking to the guys that are organizing the Sharpeville or the Massacre, and they were telling me that they are putting together a package of what you can do in Sharpeville under 1.5. Now they're starting to talk about the actual money that you need to invest. They are including a boat ride, they're including a township experience, they're including a package of a gift. And I said, that's not what general South Africans spend at the club buying their expensive bottles. That's not even a fraction of what they spend.
Not at all.
And at the end, Batola Babalas. And nothing educational about it. Or our red bottom shoes. Surely it's not an issue of money, Day.
No, not at all. By saying it's an issue of money, I'm saying those that have to be taking ourselves serious. They're busy with other things. We are a poor country, but we are not a broke country. There is money to go around, and with that money to go around, we could be spending it on more positive things. But I guess it comes with the way we see life and our education levels and things like that. Because to bring your kids to Sharpeville to come and experience it is probably a complete fulfilling experience, just as going to that famous street in Soweto.
Absolutely.
It's exactly the same, Vilagazi Street. And people can do the same.
And now it's part of the curriculum. And I was reminded by my daughter some years back, and I took her to the Cradle of Humankind, and he says, Daddy, King, I don't know if we were here a week ago, I would have aced that test I wrote. Because now, these are the things that they ask me on the test. So therefore, our visits to museums, heritage sites, needs to also challenge us as tourism bodies and authorities to make sure that we package this content in a manner that is relatable to the 100%. Little ones on the issues that they do. So one of the campaigns is coming in, and you as a Praetorian, out here Pitori will really looking forward to work with you on how we are building a game where you are able to start playing at Union Building on both platforms and on your television. And I said to them, one of the instruction was that make sure that this character we call GP on this game, as he goes through Union Buildings, he must end up on the president's desk without the police detecting him or her.
What?
You know, and that's how we want to tell the story. But as we wrap up, Deza, you are quite a busy person, a broadcaster of note. What's in store as we share with the people that watches, that listens to this, so that they can also tune in and also anticipate what is coming from you? I know you are always cooking something.
We are reimagining our podcast channel. We'll be introducing new things to it. Part of it is a much closer relationship with government departments, because we feel there's a need for South Africans to know where to go if they want to access certain type of information, whether it's information on Two-Pot and it's detailed, whether it's information on the National Health Insurance and it's detailed, whether it's information on how to access funding from government opportunities, Department of Enterprise and all of that. So we're creating a wing of our podcast platform where we will be communicating with government officials, really to try to not only educate but also give access to information to South Africans, because South Africans don't have places where they can go very quickly and easily and access information on something
that they can use.
Absolutely. And that's really what we're working on, and that's a huge part of where the channel is going. And we are well aware that recordings like that don't always get millions of views, but for us they're probably very important to establish a platform where South Africans can sit quietly and say, I didn't know I can access funding for my business and this is where I should go.
Absolutely.
And that's really what we'll be creating with different departments.
No, congratulations and well done for that, because these types of platforms that creates opportunities for people to listen over time, like you were saying, in nuggets, chewables, and ultimately we build a learning and an empowered nation. In closing, if I say to you, Sharpeville is not a massacre, what would you say Sharpeville is?
I think Sharpeville is an opportunity. When you're able to turn a bad story into a great story, I think that's where we are. It's easy for the Jews to continue to talk about the Holocaust and cry and do nothing. But we know that the Jews are one of the most successful nations in the world because they've decided to do something positive with that story. And we can do the same as the people of South Africa and the people who are conscious of this place. And when you say Sharpeville is not a massacre, for me, Sharpeville is an opportunity. It's a great opportunity.
As we take that opportunity and reimagine Sharpeville and pioneer it to the next years where we don't play victim, but we leverage on the opportunity. That's how I will leave you on this inciting episode of Gautengs Live. Until the next segment, second round.